Hello, Byron. Hello, Larpol. Hello, Hector. Hello, Jesus. Hello, H. Hello, Daniel. Hey, Niall. Hello, Mark, who is thinking he's in love. Hello, Anonymous. Hello, Shazad. Some familiar faces. Welcome, guys. Welcome to my live. Not feeling too good today, but thought I would come on. Maybe you guys can cheer me up. Hello, Freakazoid. You alive? Wow. I am alive. Barely. But I am alive. Just kidding. I probably shouldn't say that. Knock on wood. Nothing too bad's happened so far. So, thank you, Daniel. How are you guys doing today? Is there anything going on in your life that's been causing you concern, issues, annoyance, frustration, sheer rage, hatred, joy, what have you? Let me know and ask me your questions. I'll tell you no lies. Shamanic Wisdom Keeper says, "What's up?" A really stupid joke just came to mind. Don't people sometimes answer that with like the sky or something like that? Maybe I just came up with that. So stupid. I apologize. All right. Frank Martinez, Downey, California. Saturday, Long Beach, California. I saw a female lowrider clubs, Los Duenas, and other wee guys loved it. Respect. Okay, so is that like a female motorcycle like riders club? Very interesting. Pretty interesting. So is it like a gang, but just women? Let me know, Frank. That's interesting. Maxter, hello. He says, "Have you had a taste for pain by Maria Marcus?" I have not. What's it about? Sounds sadomasochistic. Shazad says, "First question. This girl who I knew since my childhood, I know she has feelings for me. I recently met her at a wedding after 2 years. We were having fun, but when I messaged her later on, she ghosted." Okay, so have you messaged her again, or are you afraid to double text, Shazad? Because reach out again. Other guys do it. Shazad said, "Can you tell me why?" Okay, all you've told me, Shazad, is that she had feelings for you in childhood, you met her at a wedding, you had fun, and then she goes to you. I'm going to need a little more details than that. I mean, you're basically giving me you had fun, and then she ghosted, and you want me to figure out why from that. I mean, it's a ridiculous question, but to take a whack at it, she probably didn't want to, probably got a little too, well, I mean, I shouldn't even bother answering this one, Shazad, because I need more details. Reach says, "This girl either wants me to be hooked like an addict, or she wants me to hook her." What the hell? I'm okay with it because I figured it out early. What do you think? She wants you to be hooked, or she wants you to hook her. I mean, Reach, you're going to have to give me a little more to go off of. Like, I guess you know better than I do in this one situation, but what do you think? I mean, what do I think of what? I've never heard of this. She wants to be hooked like an addict. She wants you to be hooked, or she wants the guy to hook her. I mean, most girls want the guy to hook them, and they want the guy to be hooked like an addict. So I don't know why it's like an either or scenario here in your mind, but let me know, Reach. Hector says, "I hope you feel better. Whatever's going on with you, it will pass." Thanks, Hector. Shamanic Wisdom Keeper says, filled with anger and rage. Ha, fuck yeah, exactly, Shamanic Wisdom Keeper. Frank Martinez says, Lowrider Car Club. Oh, I see, Frank. My bad. Shazad says, I thought we had a very great conversation. We were together for 3 hours, so I thought she will reply instantly. And yes, I don't want to double text. Okay, that's your problem right there, Shazad. You're afraid to double text. It is okay to double text. In fact, there's so many situations I have seen where the guy is afraid to double text and he's put himself into an impossible situation because it's like he didn't even ask the girl a question and then he expects her to respond and he won't text again. So how can she respond? Since most girls don't want to do the initiating. So I think that's your problem. You can tell me what your last text message was to her and what her last message was to you, and that will give me even more insight. But yeah. MGT MGTOW, right? Biologic. Is what's her face still stealing all your content? Yes, she is. Sarah Dawn Marie. She got away with it. She's evil. Just kidding. Frank Martinez, Downey, California, lowrider. Chicano, Mexican American car culture. Lowriding is legal in California. Okay, interesting, Frank. Shazad says she was okay with me touching her. We hugged. Okay, well, I mean, hugging, I wouldn't read too much into hugging. I mean, maybe it depends, like, on the culture or whatever, but hugging, I wouldn't read too much into it. So Animal Singh says, hello, I'm in college. There's a girl in my year who I like. We get along really well whenever we meet. I'm not sure how to approach her since we don't have any mutual friends. Okay, Animal, you gotta make up an excuse to get her number. Like, let's say you get along really well, so you talk to her, right? So be like, oh, let me get your number real quick because I want to send you a link to that thing we talked about. And if you have to, like, mention something and kind of force that into the conversation, so be it. So first, get her number, start talking to her over text, and ask her out over text. Depends on the situation, but you can ask her to hang out with a group of friends, just one-on-one. You can even ask her on a date if it's like that. So, but yeah, you got to make up an excuse to get her number. You don't have to lie, but maybe you don't need her number, right? But you get it anyway. Or do you already have her number in Mall? And then I'm not sure what the problem is. Let me know. So Reach says, the toxic kind of love, where she's isolated from everyone and I'm seen as her evil savior, like her fantasy. Maybe she wants to do it to me, but I doubt it. What is the best approach? Okay, Reach, I think you've read a little too much into this. So this is your situation one. The girl either wants me to be hooked like an addict or she wants me to hook her. And then you followed up by saying she wants the toxic kind of love where she's isolated from everyone and I'm seen as her evil savior, like her fantasy. All right, I'll believe you. Okay, maybe she does want this. Kind of weird, but maybe she wants to do it to me. She wants to isolate you from everyone and be your evil savior. No way. Not if she's a girl. Unless she's like an extreme dom, in which case she would be doing it to you and you wouldn't have to worry about it. What's the best approach? I mean, it's the same approach as like everything else. I mean, she wants a toxic kind of love. I would just, do I really want to give you toxic advice? Probably read some romance novels that are notoriously toxic and just imitate that, because that's probably where she got the idea from. So you can get a lot of good dialogue from studying up on your toxic male protagonists in romance novels, Reach. If this really is what she wants, okay? But yeah, I think that will be your best approach because that will get you the best dialogue for the kind of guy, the kind of possessive, toxic guy in the right female gaze balance that she wants. So definitely go to Barnes and Nobles and start reading, okay? Or maybe even ask ChatGPT or whatever to summarize the toxic dialogue of male leads in romance novels. So, Daniel Scrivener, what do you think, Reach? Daniel Scrivener says, would you say toxic masculinity is as prevalent as feminists claim? If so, what are the most prevalent aspects, and what can the average male do to counter them in their own individual behavior? Yes, I would. I do believe in toxic masculinity. Like, anything can be taken to the extreme and it can become very frustrating, right? Okay. So, if so, what are the most prevalent aspects? I think like you can take kind of like expressing your feelings only in anger and rage too far. I don't know how many guys have that problems, but I would say that's pretty toxic instead of learning some conflict resolution skills. Okay, what else? Kind of like assuming a lot of like toxic stereotypes about women, like expecting them to do kind of like all the housework and childcare and never doing an equal division of labor with the fair play method, which I really recommend. What else is toxic masculinity? I'm not saying everything is like purposely toxic, but it appears toxic to women because it's really annoying and it misunderstands women. So I made a whole list the other day for my male gaze coach because he was kind of asking not exactly the same question, but a similar question. And I had like 30 items on the list. So I don't know if I want to go read that right now because I feel like you guys will probably all leave. But I do think it's a thing. Well, if you define it as masculinity taken to an extreme to a point where it's like hurting a relationship or hurting the guy himself or hurting the woman, sure, right? What do you guys think? What's your thoughts? Do you think you struggle with anything like has anyone ever called you toxic, Daniel, in a relationship and been like, you need to control your anger or you're so entitled or I don't know. Daniel, what do you think? Like, what do you think is the most likely culprit where you could even need to worry about toxic masculinity? Because that's another thing, Daniel, is that a lot of guys, before they start worrying about toxic masculinity, let's just get them some masculinity so they can be attractive to women before trying to worry about toning down the toxic masculinity. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want you to be focusing too much on toning down your toxic masculinity if women aren't even perceiving you as like masculine in the first place. So let me know, Daniel, do you have any suspicions of where you might be veering into toxic territory or what? So CyberLA says, yes, and yeah. Okay, so CyberLA Rudy says, do most girls who are single want single guys to talk to them? Positive expectation is key, right? CyberLA, well, I don't think you should make some kind of like assumption like most girls who are single want single guys to talk to them because is it most? Is it like 51%? We don't know. Okay. It's going to vary. I mean, most single girls want to find a relationship with the right guy. So it's not stupid to assume that they're going to be open to being approached, but that doesn't mean at all times, in all situations, all personalities are going to respond to it the same way. But CyberLA, you have to incorporate that, okay? And you have to think to yourself, sometimes I'm going to approach a girl and she's not going to want to be approached and she's not going to be in the mood and I misjudged it. And that's completely okay because there's no way I can, before talking to a girl, know if she wants a single guy to talk to them. However, if I just don't talk to anyone because I'm so afraid of offending a girl who doesn't want to be talked to, I will be single and celibate for life. Unless you have a really good online dating profile, okay? So do it anyway. And I want the mentality you have in your head, Cyber LA, to be like, I can't know beforehand if she wants to be approached or not, but that doesn't matter because I'm going to talk to her. And if I sense in the interaction that she doesn't want to be approached, I'm simply going to respectfully apologize and say, have a wonderful day. And, I'm sorry to bother you, and back off and try someone new. But the most important attitude, Cyber LA, is that you do it, whether or not everybody is going to be receptive to it. Okay. Like, think of it like sales. You can't just only approach people are going to be like your leads. Like, isn't the sales principle like, don't try to judge who looks like a good, mark or whatever they call it. Like, you just kind of, someone comes in like tattered old clothes. Who knows? They could be rich. You never know until you try. So it's kind of like that. You got to still approach girls. And trust me, you can never know whether or not this girl's going to be receptive to it or not until you try. And you know what? She doesn't even know. Okay? Because until she talks to you a little bit, she doesn't know if you're alpha in love material. And that's facts. Okay, so Shazad says, I messaged her, hey, it was very nice seeing you again. Let's go on a coffee someday. And sorry, your followers are growing, so messages are coming in pieces. So, Shazad, okay, nice attempt, but it's not good. Okay. Hey, it was very nice seeing you again. Let's go on a coffee someday. You're just making a very vague offer. Let's go on a coffee someday. It's almost like girls make fun of this, like, let's get lunch. Yeah, never, right? Let's do lunch someday. Right, yeah, definitely. Let's get a coffee someday. It almost seems like you're not interested because you haven't come up with a specific plan. Okay? Like, I think it should be more like, hey, it was very nice seeing you again. I really enjoyed talking to you. You mentioned you really like, did she mention anything to you that she liked in the conversation? Let's, what are you doing this weekend? Let's go to this coffee shop nearby. I think you'd really like it. So you make a specific plan. You kind of start getting like, when are you free? How about Friday? Friday, 7 p.m. Great. Sounds like a deal. You don't just give this open-ended thing like, maybe one day in the future, if you make the first move on me, if you plan it all out and respond to me, then I might, maybe months in the future is when I'm, done with this other girl. That's kind of what the girls are thinking. Maybe invite you on coffee. So it's got to be a lot more specific, Shazad. And, also, like I kind of mentioned this, but you're putting the ball completely in her court. And for most girls, they're not going to take it and run with it because they want to be invited on a date by a real man. That's how they see it. Okay? By a guy who knows how to initiate, pursue. Because that's the only men they want to be with. So don't make the mistake in the future, Shazad. What do you think? All right. AH, you said it. You said it well. Shazad, I think you need to be more specific than coffee someday. Exactly. So Anderson Megasich says, there's a girl I had an on and off situationship for 2 years. I then lived in Italy for 5 months. Once I got back home, I noticed she unfollowed me on social media, but she still watches my stories. You think I should invite her to my next DJ show in Manhattan next month? Yes, I do, Anderson. I definitely do. Especially if she unfollowed you, yet she still watches your stories. Yeah, seemed like she unfollowed you to just kind of be like, I gotta get this guy out of my head anymore. I'm done with this guy, but she can't get over you. So definitely invite her to your next DJ show in Manhattan. If not, on a date sooner if you still like her. So, I mean, a month's a long time, so. So Shamanic says, jaded AF and void pilled. Convinced me I shouldn't go full werewolf. That's a good one, Shamanic, but how did you get void pilled? Like, what channel void pilled you? So, Byron says, is it still possible to spark interest or attraction in a lady who initially wasn't feeling that way at that point, or is it a lost hope? Yeah, it is definitely possible, Byron. It is absolutely possible. All right. As I always say on these, you got to create a romantic scenario for feelings to blossom. Okay. For suddenly, she doesn't know why, but she's feeling some type of way about you, Byron, because you created the setting and the props and the plot for romance to blossom. In other words, ask her to hang out at friends where there's kind of like nightlife and alcohol, dancing, get drunk, dance, feel the chemistry, make a move, and you never know what could happen, Byron. So, Reese says, I appreciate you. I might as well study female fantasy anyway. Yeah, good point. Get in that Barnes and Nobles, Reach. Liam says, love is seldom, if ever, worth it. That's a hot take, Liam. MGTOW by a lot. She read that I was forced to marry a mobster clown shit. Probably, yep. Probably into the mafia romance novels. AH, you're acing my unofficial quiz. Ask if she wants coffee on a specific date and at a specific plate. Very good. Shazad says, so I should double text again? Yeah, you should. You should be like, find some excuse, yet again, to be like, oh, hey, remember that thing you mentioned? Open up a conversation again. The double text is fine, especially because your last text, this is kind of what I was talking about with guys who are afraid of double texting. It's like, it left it so ambiguous, it almost made it seem like you didn't like her. So spark up a conversation again. Text her a link of something that reminded you of her, something you talked about at the wedding, anything. But yeah, you have to be the initiator, Shazad. You can't just be like, well, it's 50-50 and I pursued her 50%. Now the ball's in her court and she will pursue me 50%. She won't. All right. So yes, you should double text. Evan Wells 1 says, hi. Hello, Evan Wells 1. Shazad says, thanks. All right, Shazad. Keep me updated, Shazad. So Samuel77 says, how should I ask out women I see regularly at school or a dance class or something? I don't want to just ask her out in front of everyone because it will be awkward, reputation damaging if she rejects. Yeah, Samuel7 said, take my advice from earlier that he gave to somebody else. Make up that excuse to get her number. Start up a conversation, mention something with a link you could text her later. Okay? And get her number and ask her out over the phone. Perfect. So, Animal Singh says, hey, to get more details, yeah, I have her number. We have also texted, but not that much, also in drama group together. She posts quite often on Insta, so maybe I use that to text her. Yeah, Animal, so you've texted. Can you ask her out at this point, Animal? Like, get skip to the date. Let's get the show on the road. But yeah, commenting on her Insta stories is good, or Insta posts, whatever, because that can kind of show that you're interested in her as a person. You're interested in her life, in what she posts, her personality. So that can be a good way to kind of like build rapport and connection, and then like ask her out. Not too far in the future, Animal, but I don't know how much rapport you've created. So Might be a bit better for you to just create a little more before asking her out, depending on your relationship. But yeah, don't wait months. So your thoughts create your reality. Says, I have this woman writing to me, wanting to hang out with me. Only met her once. Wants to hang out in bars and go to hockey. She invited me twice, but been busy. Is it my time to make the move now? Your thoughts. I'm confused. Why are you asking me this? Because she seems to really want to hang out with you. She already invited you twice. Is it my time to make the move? How would I know that? Because I have no idea why you haven't made the move already. Your thoughts? Yes, it's your time. Why are you waiting around? Your thoughts? Life is short. All right? This woman likes you. Jump on this. Of course. What in the world are you waiting for? Your thoughts? Let me know. Bob Bill says, toxic just means that a lady hits 30 and then gets mad that Chad only wants to smash. They say that all guys are representative of the top Chads that were smashing in the 20s. I agree with that second sentence. Your first sentence is so dumb, Bob Bill. I'm sorry. I have to be on a truth bomb mode tonight, okay? First of all, try to understand women. Don't just regurgitate red pill BS that the second a woman hits 30 or 25, right? And so she's hit the wall and then she becomes bitter and angry and she couldn't possibly have any kind of complaints about relationships or men that are legitimate. And she couldn't possibly have any legitimate commentary on masculinity or the way she's been treated by men. I mean, please, Bob Bill, I'm saying this to you. Honestly, I know it's going to sound condescending, Bob Bill, but honestly, out of love, because you sound like a Tips Fedora like incel with this kind of rhetoric. Like, I want you to actually like understand women and not just like, well, if a woman comments on any feminist issue, she's bitter and over 30. Like, really? Really, Bob Bill? I mean, hopefully it's kind of a joke and you don't actually believe it, but I mean, I do agree with the second part. So we're in agreement there. But the first part is just unbelievable, Bob Bill. Really. So, MGGOW, thank you. And thanks, Larpil, and thanks, Excel for Traders. So, hello, JF. Evan Wells 1 says, you have to be masculine first to be toxically masculine. Lol, there's adjusting nuance to that, but true. Most feminists don't understand that guys that bug them aren't the shy, unconfident guys usually. That's very true, Evan Wells 1. They do not understand that. They lump them all together. They're not aware that a group of shy, unconfident guys exists. So yeah, it's very true. Byron says, also, is distance a permanently defeating factor to a connection? I met her in the UK. Now she lives in the States, so I just wondered. No. You can have a long distance relationship that develops into more, absolutely. Especially some girls love that. Bob Bill, girls turn around toxic when they're done smashing Chad in their... Oh, God, Bob Bill. All right, let's read this. Girls turn around toxic when they are done smashing Chad in their 20s and are mad that Brad has some small standards for them to get a long-term relationship in their 30s. Bob Bill, where has this gotten you? Okay? Like, I guess like what you're kind of implying is I have some standards for a woman in her 30s and women are mad about it. Yeah, if you come off really like negative and offensive, women aren't going to want to date you and they're going to be mad about it. I mean, that's just human nature. We don't like it when people are like mean and toxic. I'm sure you probably don't like my truth bomb, you know? Who knows? You might be about to go off on me. But it's to be expected. And it's just very, very stupid. This whole red pill narrative about how women complain about men only in their 30s after they've given up fucking Chad, even though they still want Chad in their 30s. So I'm just confused, Bob Bill. Oh, God. MG2 says, yeah, you got to get enough in the sales funnel. The more tattoos and children she has, the easier she is on average. Oh, my God. So, Bile says, just follow up with the simple message. Thursday? Oh, I like that, Bile. Very good. I like that a lot. It's really good. Cyber LA says, great advice, Victoria. Maybe it's my logical brain, black or white, all or nothing mentality. That can be a problem at times. Thanks again. Well, thank you, Cyber LA. But is all or nothing mentality really logical? But I know what you're saying, Cyber LA. So why would I nitpick? But yes, I agree. People can kind of lock in with like computer programmer brain. So yes. Oh, hello, Michelle. Welcome. Welcome a real life female to the chat. Wonderful, Michelle. Oh, God. Here we go with Bob Bill. I'm scared. I'm real scared. Let's read this. It's entertaining, but here we go. Girls smash Chad on the first date in their 20s. Then they raise the price and add requirements on Brad to get a used and damaged product in their 30s. First of all, Bob Bill, girls still want to fuck a Chad in their 30s. Okay? And if a guy is doing everything right, which I try to teach you guys on my channel for free, mostly, except if you get a consultation with me, they will probably be like, thank my lucky stars that some guy out there isn't just spewing red pill BS and talking about, oh, you hit the wall and you just want to smash Chad and you raise the price and what do you bring to the table? They'll probably be so thankful that Chad has enough experience with women to not reveal himself as a guy who's terrible with women, that they'll be like, thank the Lord, let's fuck. Okay, I'm not saying on the first date, but maybe if she's very frustrated because she hasn't been able to find a guy who isn't like spewing all this fresh and fit BS. Yes, so that's who I want you to be, Bob Bill. That's why I'm maybe not lovingly, but I don't hate you, Bob Bill. And I think you're probably great underneath all this. So please drop all the stuff you've learned from Andrew Tate or whoever, because it's not helping you. And it's not even correct. Like, girls only fuck attractive guys on the first date in their 20s? No. They do that in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s as well. Then your second part, then they raise the price and add requirements on Brad to get a used and damaged product. You don't like... If you think women are so used and damaged, like, just pay for someone to fake it, please, Bob Bill. I know it's not a popular belief, but like, what are you doing? Like, dating in the dating market? I don't know. But anyway, more isn't always better. Thank you so much for your super chat. I really appreciate that. And he says, thank you for giving us game. I appreciate you. Oh, wow. More isn't always better. Thank you so much for your super chat. And let me know if you had a question, and I'll try to answer it. More isn't always better. And if I missed it, let me know, because I'm kind of like far up in the chat. But thank you so much. Generous King. Whereas, all right. Copy and paste it like multiple times below, if you have one. All right, so let's see. Oh, hello, Jellyfish. Icy, do you know what Wattpad is? Yes, I do, Icy. Audi, that's a great question. Hi, Tor. I want to ask you, how do women? Oh, I feel bad because I skipped Samuel. I don't know if you're still here on Elixir. All right, should we go back? Samuel 77. What are some indications you should try pursuing a girl again after initial flake or rejection? One, did she have a legitimate excuse? Two, are you willing to play the long game? And are you willing to put your ego in check in order to create chemistry and try again? Okay? Or are you just going to get too hurt and it's easier for you to just move on? Three, did she give you any signals that she actually was into you on the date? Like, did you guys have an awesome conversation, or did she hook up with you, but then she just didn't want a third date? If so, I'd give it just, another shot. And then if she gives you a firm rejection, respect that, of course. But what do you guys think? Any other indications? So Elixir says, a woman told me how this other guy made her think things she didn't dare to think before. I asked her what kind of thoughts, and she said it's too deep and she couldn't talk about it. I don't get it. Okay. Well, I could tell you, Elixir. Submissive thoughts. She's probably having submissive fantasies. This guy acted all dominant with her, and I bet money that's what it is, okay? Good money. I place a large bet. That's basically the only thing she could be thinking. So I answered that one for you, Elixir. Okay? It's about being submissive. Totally submissive. There you go. You're enlightened now. All right. So, hello, Jellyfish Kaiju. Hi, Victoria. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stick around, but thanks for doing it live. Oh, thanks, Jellyfish. You're nice. Now, Audi says, hi, Tor. I wanted to ask you, how do women view threesomes, FFM? If positively, what's the core fantasy that drives? Okay. So some women, they're like bisexual, right? So they have like interest in other women. So they want to make out with another woman, and maybe they're kind of just bi-curious or whatever. They've never done that, so they think it would kind of be hot. Another fantasy that can drive it is kind of like almost like the fantasy of just being like dominated in kind of like a slutty way, like dominated by a guy to be like a slut with another woman. But that's kind of like a submissive take on a threesome. Maybe like someone just really like the idea of like how beautiful and kind of sexy and hot it will be to a guy, and how turned on the guy will be seeing her with another girl. So those are different fantasies that I'd say are common, and I'm sure there's others as well. Because people can take like the same scenario and have their own twist and their own kink on what's hot about it for them. But I'd say those are three very common takes. Audi, what do you think? Seven Ramovsky says, anyone here into the idea of hot wifing? No comment. La Polgo says, the other day a girl looked at me. We have looked at each other some other times. This time she looked at me really intense. I approached her to initiate conversation, but she wasn't interested. Okay. Well, La Polgo, you have to understand that sometimes women stare, and it doesn't necessarily mean I want to fuck you. But, as a guy, you have your over-perception bias, so it's like, oh, wow, a woman's looking at me and she's staring at me. She must want to fuck me. Because, like, evolutionarily speaking, it's more advantageous to think that than not. So you guys all are full of the overperception bias not everyone, okay? Not all men. A lot of you guys, though. So in this case, it seems like the overperception bias got the best of you. Because, it seems like she was just looking at you. I mean, girls can look at you for other reasons than they want to fuck you. They could be like, oh, he's wearing an interesting outfit. He has an interesting look. I kind of zoned out and my eyes locked on this random guy because I like looking around me. There's many other reasons then. Unfortunately for you guys, I want to jump on a dick. So, yeah. So G23 says, if a woman touches me on the chest, then on the hand while we're talking, what does that mean? It's a pretty flirtatious move, all right? So, I mean, that's kind of like what women are told like to do to be flirtatious. I mean, I think that's a good sign. So, you can ask her out if you want, but she could also just be friendly like that. She could be from a culture where people touch each other all the time, like, Brazil or something like that. So, you never know, but it's definitely flirty. So Chaba says, you gotta ask a girl to be your girlfriend or just let it happen. No, you don't. Like Beardo, my boyfriend, he was saying on one of these lives that he believes it's better to just let the girl bring it up because trust me, she will if she wants to be your girlfriend. She'll bring up the what are we talk eventually. So you can let it happen. Puts you kind of like in the stronger position. You don't have to. Like, Beardo asked me to be his girlfriend and I didn't think, oh, he's weak. But it's a little bit stronger. Just she's like begging you. So Anonymous says, do you think red pill manosphere content is more harmful than anything else? Not necessarily, because I know there's like I have mixed feelings, all right. First of all, there's a lot of different channels, there's a lot of different perspectives, there's a lot of different ideas. And do I think some of them are good? Yes, I do. Do I think some of them are helpful? Yes, I do. However, do I think some of them suck? Yes, I do. Do I think some of them play on guys' fears for views and clicks? Yes, I do. But, the red pill, the manosphere, it's important. It's good. But I'm just not saying every single bit of red pill manosphere content is good. Like, for example, I hate Andrew Tate. I hate Fresh and Fit. That kind of red pill stuff. I don't like a lot of the red pill creators I see. But, is their mission good? I think so. Do they not understand women well enough and overstep by kind of like assigning motives to women that they know nothing about? Yes. But do they observe some good stuff? Yes. Could it be helpful to guys? Yes. What do you guys think about it? So I'm not totally against it. I'm just against like certain red pill ideas. Okay. But some are good, but that's normal, right? Like supposedly there's like my friend, Philosophy Junkies, he was sharing me we were talking about red pill and he read this book, The Red Pill Dictionary. And that book really helped me understand there's a lot of different ideas in the movement, okay? Not everybody shares the exact same beliefs. They're kind of talking it out, arguing it out. All right, good for that. Do I think some is harmful? Absolutely, though. Oh my god. And I see the harmful effects for sure. But should it be banned from YouTube? No. What do you guys think? So Leo Camel says, hello. Since last topic was about intent, could you define the line between smooth and creepy? Would love to implement what you just said, but I have a talent for ruining it. That's a complicated question. I don't think I can answer that one. I mean, it's going to be different for different people and depending on how you're acting. So I mean, it's a great question, Leo, but it seems like very complicated to answer. Like it's going to involve like reading the social cues, understanding women, understanding the female gaze, how attractive the woman finds you, so there's a lot to it. So I don't know if I could just define like some line. What do you guys think? How would you answer that? So your thoughts create reality. Yeah, I'm just busy, so I've not been available the time she asked. Yeah, like I thought it's time to make the move. The time to make the move was yesterday, so yes, your thoughts. G says, wow, Bob Bill, lol. Winner 33 says, when will you go carnivore? Over my dead body. Winner 33. Vegan for life. Vegan forever. So, thank you. I didn't know Martinov. Who is he? I don't know anything about him. Axner says, why are there so many women who like drug or alcohol addicted, no life, no goals, having slackers? Well, Axner, I mean, first of all, it's not like I necessarily agree with your statement, but why do women like drug or alcohol addicted men with no life, no goals, having slackers? Bad boys. They live outside the rules of society, right? That's attractive to women, in my opinion, kind of like by nature, because they're attracted to men who aren't pencil pushing people pleasers, who kind of like have the guts and the grit to break societal rules, risk takers, people who aren't afraid, people who aren't kowtowing, people who aren't people pleasing. So I think that could be attractive about people like that. Although, I mean, are most women attracted to them? I don't know. So, well, you said so many, not most, but Seven Ramoski says, seems like the guys on the channel are as bitter as they claim the girls are. You are doing a great service by addressing and correct the comments on your channel. You should be compensated for this. Wow. Thank you, Seven Ramoski. That is so nice. I really appreciate it. I'm giving you my power triangle and gratitude symbol. Yeah. Because, I mean, obviously, I agree that, guys get bitter. Some guys get bitter. And that's an indicator they're not doing well with women. They're not having sex. And that's very bad. And that's what I'm trying to help you guys do. So, but you're not going to get sex by being bitter, unfortunately. It's very tempting. Like, I went through that myself, like on online dating profile. You get so annoyed with everything you see that you just want to make your profile a list of like, stop saying this, stop doing this. But everyone knows the first rule of like an online dating profile is never be negative, because you instantly just turn people off. Well, it's the same way with being better and just spewing like red pill, like rhetoric. Sorry, bitter, not better. For example, this one by Corey Hanna. She is never yours, it's just your turn. Exactly, Corey Hanna. And by exactly, I mean exactly what Seven Ramoski is saying. Daniel Scrivener says, you are so good at handling incel comments when many would just give up. I have to commend it. From those of us who get it, thank you. Your advice and mentality is valuable. Oh, wow. Thank you, Daniel. You guys are really gassing me up today. Thank you. Cyber Relay says, yeah, I worked as a programmer before. I was going to mention that little, yes, programmer brain. I know it well. Not because I was a programmer, but Beardo, my boyfriend, was. So he admits it too. So Bill Usher says, I email more videos to potentially review. Okay, thanks, Bill. I'm not sure if I will review them because I don't want to get copyright striked, especially when my plagiarist is on the run looking for ways to copyright strike me and just steal all my content. But I appreciate that. So maybe we'll see. I'll have to delete the live, maybe. So we'll do maybe different live. I'm not sure. So Larpel says, yeah, I did that recently when I told a 30 plus with baggage that her son needs a strong father figure in his life. I didn't. It was genuine advice. Please, 30 plus, Larple. You guys, you remember the Bed Intruder song? You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real. Like, this is running through my head. Because a 30 plus, first of all, a 30 plus. Like, you guys act like you can even tell if a woman is 30 plus. Like, the second the day of her birthday, her 29th, her 30th birthday at midnight, she suddenly becomes a 30 plus with baggage overnight, in 1 second when her birthday comes to pass. Lurple, why? Please focus on sex, not on insulting women. Focus on having a wonderful sex life. Please let that sink over you. Let that wash over you. All right. Byron says, how do I show balance between being masculine and showing emotion? Is that even the way to go? Good question, Byron. Good question. I mean, it's slow, general, but maybe we could get Beardo to answer that one. Because yes, I agree, they're both important. It is the way to go. It is the way to go. In Beardo's case, my boyfriend, it's almost like he's so masculine that he's not afraid to show emotion. He's not scared of like a fucking emotion. So he's like super emotional and he like owns it and he never apologizes for it. So I guess that's one way, but I wonder what he would say. Yeah, I mean, do you have a specific situation, Byron, that you're kind of worried about? Like, am I doing too much too soon? Or, as long as you kind of keep the balance where she can still see you as her rock. She can still see you as the man. She doesn't have to support you completely. She will be okay with you showing emotion. But it's just probably if you're just acting like so vulnerable and so weak and so emotional in the beginning, she might think, I don't know if this guy is like capable of like being the man in my life and the man in my relationship for me. So it might cause her to have second thoughts and doubts. Okay. But interestingly, I was just listening to the Sex and Psychology podcast today, and there was a woman who's a sexual scientist, a social psychologist, and she's done all these studies on sex, and she did a lot of studies on whether being kind of like weak or close or kind of emotionally open with your partner makes them less attracted to you. And in all the studies they found, contrary to what they thought, because of like what Esther Perel talks about all the time and stuff, is that they found that it doesn't decrease attraction when you're emotionally open with each other and like super close and emotional. So I thought that was interesting because I was kind of thinking to myself, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something to it, but they did a bunch of studies on it and they found that it actually helps the sexual connection. So, which also makes sense to me, but anyway, what do you guys think? So, Sherwin Tabor says, advice on dating a woman in her mid-30s as a 21-year-old. Sherwin, well, I got this great advice from this guy named Marcus of A Good Line. He was like a expert pickup artist. He's a coach, I believe, in a great dating coach school. And he said one thing you can say is, you may be older than me, but I can still make you feel like a little girl. Basically, you still want to be in that masculine role. You still want to be taking all the right actions, just like a guy would who's in her age bracket. But you just kind of have to do the extra convincing that even though you're young, you can still be in that role for her. You can still make her feel submissive. You can still make her feel like a woman. So there's some random advice for you, Sherwin, but Ken Luxury says, you can't be a dark triad alpha and still be spiritual, divine, or vulnerable. It doesn't work. The most beta men I know are all Christians or spiritual. Well, Ken, I kind of agree with you because I don't like any spiritual, divine men. I don't necessarily agree with the vulnerable part, but I do agree with the spiritual part. Well, at least the kind of like spiritual gurus that I see online, kind of like the Tantra, divine masculine gurus. They seem scared of their masculinity or something, in my opinion. But others disagree. The spiritual women love them. So, I don't know. Mark says, I have a general problem trusting people, but stakes with women are even higher, in my opinion, if you're in a relationship. My own experience was backed up with info I later found online that at least half of women have a backup guy lined up while they're already in a relationship, and those are just the half that I figured out for a fact. And the figure is likely higher. I want a genuine relationship, yet find it impossible to trust these sorts of people. How do I overcome this obstacle? I already have some methods, but they take a lot of time and patience. Wonder what your thoughts were. Yeah, so I saw this study, okay, and I saw a great person commenting on it, Kenya K. Stevens. You should follow her. She's really good. And she was saying, what's wrong with women thinking of kind of what they would do if they got broken up with? Is it really that scary? Is it really that bad? I mean, Mark, I feel like for so many guys who are struggling with women who haven't had a good relationship and who really want one, or who have had a bad relationship and really want a relationship, their deepest fear is just being left for someone better and them not being able to compete. And so they're very, very vulnerable and very susceptible to these kind of like fear porn like stats like, oh my God, a woman has thought about who she would be with if she got broken up with. It's really not a big deal. Like, why is that bad? To think about who you would be with. It's okay. Okay? But my hope is that you have the skills and you develop the skills to make yourself indispensable to the woman you're in a relationship. So she's like, I really fucking hope I never have to go back out there on the dating market because Mark is so much better than everyone I've ever met. And that's how a lot of women feel about the guys they're with. Not everyone, but a lot do. I feel that way about my boyfriend. So don't let the fear porn that they know you're susceptible to. And that's why they're telling you, trust me, I'm a YouTuber. I know the things that get likes are the things that people are the most afraid of and want to like scare themselves with. It's some weird thing, but so it's not impossible to trust people, especially if you have the skills to be in a healthy relationship. So don't worry about this little study that came up that people have considered a backup guy. It's not that they have the backup guy lined up, but they've considered, I believe, who their backup guy would be. It's not like they've signed a contract with him, like, so, like, do we have a deal? Like, you will step in, correct? Wonderful. I'll send it to my lawyer. Like, have your lawyer contact my lawyer. I mean, it's not like that, Mark. So don't scare yourself, but do work on developing good skills so that women are like, Mark is indispensable. He's fucking amazing in bed. Take some courses on like sexual skills, emotional skills. I mean, I'm not saying it's not hard, but trust me, there's a lot of things you can do out there to be indispensable to women because most women are like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. So, yeah. I mean, sounds like you had a bad relationship, but it's possible to get into a good relationship, and it's not like everybody cheats. And yeah, what do you think, Mark? Hypercortical says, oh wow, I thought your channel was dead. Well, it's not. Kevin Tambling says, age gap. I'm 65, but I look 50. I'm not attracted to girls my age. I find mature-minded smart girls in their 20s and 30s most attractive. Do some girls find age gap relationships satisfying? Is it true? Yeah, I mean, it's possible that a girl in their 20s and 30s might have some daddy dom fetish and you can tap in on that. I mean, I don't think it's you're limiting yourself a lot. You're narrowing it down a lot because most girls in their 20s and 30s want to date guys, their own age. Is it possible that you'll find some unicorn who wants to date an older guy? Yes. It's possible. Anyway. I mean, George Elder says, that's pretty hot, Victoria. Okay. What is, George? So Dante Black says, what do you think of a man that wants to be able to attract several women, but he doesn't want to enter any relationship, only focus on his personal goals? Well, Dante, you might consider polyamory. You might consider defining yourself as an aromantic, hypersexual, polyamorous man. Okay? So that's fine. You want to like have sex with different women, but you don't want to be in a relationship. People do that. Okay? And they call themselves aromantics. Or another word recently people have been using is solo. You're solo. You don't want to merge your lives in a relationship, but you still want to have sex. Okay? So you can date as a solo and look for casual relationships, basically. Maybe read up about that. Is it going to be the easiest thing in the world to find? I mean, a lot of guys don't want to enter into a relationship and want to have sex with lots of women, so it's not easy for them, but people are doing it, so. Hello, now 2 cents. So, Audi says, how about this? She finds it hot that a guy is attractive to other women. So she wants to compete in a direct way 3 times to dominate over the other chick by pleasing the guy and attracting him. Thoughts? I mean, she would have to be. So she finds it hot that the guy is attracted to other women, so she's kind of like competing for his attention by trying to like be sexier than the other girl. I mean, it's possible some girl might be into that, but I don't know. I don't think like most girls like to compete with other women like that, but maybe you can find someone that's their kink. Especially if you're like insanely hot as a guy. Like you're like Henry Cavill level or whatever. Then yeah, maybe she'd kind of want to like compete about like who's sexier. I don't know. It's possible. It's not my kink, but hey. Nitronske says, what are your thoughts on Slovakia? I'm embarrassed to say I don't know too much about it. What are some interesting things about it? Freedom Fox 1 says, Rollo Tomasi's writing is what I consider canonical red pill. Yeah, and I tried reading The Rational Male. I didn't finish it. I should go back, but although very annoyingly written, he had some good thoughts. So, makes sense. So you give him credit for the canon red pill. So Elixir says, how would you introduce your dominant side to a female acquaintance that you haven't been intimate with yet without coming off as a creep or an asshole? What to do before getting to the bedroom stuff? Might be a better question for Beardo because he's talked about this on different lives before. But you can show your dominant side by just doing the correct dating etiquette on the date. And if you do all that, she'll be thinking almost like he's going to naturally be dominant in bed because he's so good with women. So that's at least what she'll be wanting to think and kind of like inclined to think. All right. But once you get to the bedroom that you haven't been intimate with, you don't need to, show, don't tell. You don't need to kind of like be like, oh, by the way, I'm a dom. It's better to just get in the bed. Well, obviously the kink community doesn't agree with me, okay? Because the way they do it is much more kind of like safe, sane, and consensual. Like they might exchange their yes, no, maybe lists like beforehand and have a discussion beforehand. But most vanilla people, they don't do that. So it's tough but basically when you start making out, you'll kind of be able to test the waters with little things a bit. But, I would work into it slowly. Probably like test the waters with a little dirty talk or something like that. But yeah, Beardo has some different moves you can do, whatever. But yeah, you don't need to make a big speech about it. You don't need to monologue about it. You can just do the correct dating etiquette on the date. You can invite her over to your place. You can start making out. And once the makeout happens, there's going to be a lot of different ways to demonstrate that you're taking the lead. You're comfortable in the dominant role. You don't expect her to be a teacher. And of course, there's different levels of dominance. I mean, you don't have to be like Christian Grey on her. Like, let me take you to my pleasure room. Like, dominant, it's like a spectrum, okay? Dominant is a word. It can mean a lot of different things. So, dominant, in the most basic sense, in the bedroom, just means you are willing to take the lead for taking like the actions in the bedroom and letting her lie there like a starfish, as you guys like to say, if she wants to. You are going to be undressing her. You are going to be kissing her. You are going to be caressing her and just letting her take it all in, experience, be sexy, say how she feels, give you expressions back. But she doesn't have to take the reins, take control, and be like, sit in that chair and like let me do a striptease and then jump on you and then tear off your clothes and then start sucking your dick. That's her being dominant. Okay. So as long as you're willing to like slowly take the lead in the interaction, you're being dominant. And of course, there's ways you can escalate and amplify the dominance from there, but that's a good start. So Mark says, by the time I do learn to trust a woman that I think would actually be good for me, it takes me ages. And I'm not shy about asking her out then, but normally she finds another guy by then, frustrating as hell. Yes, Mark, I think you have some major trust issues. I know I've been recommending this a lot lately, Mark, but I would recommend reading these two books I read recently, The 5 People Who Can Ruin Your Life and Dating Radar, because they teach you how to identify the people most likely to cheat and lie. So, yeah, that could help. That could help narrow things down. Mr. G says, do you believe a woman can be in love and still cheat, and why? Yes, definitely. Because, a woman can love a guy and still be very unsatisfied. Okay. And if she does not have the skills to be open, and if she does not believe in open relationships, or she's not sexually open minded enough to talk about her sexual desires outside the relationship, or the guy is like super, sensitive about anything like this, so she can't bring it up, then she might become so desperate for, let's say, emotional connection that, she's not getting from the guy she loves, that she's driven to lie and cheat. Is it right? No. Should you be with a person who you can't talk to openly about sex and the problems in your relationship? No. But I definitely say it's possible to be in love and cheat. Not that you should do it or be with anyone who would do it, but Kevin says Rollo Tomasi in real life is such a schmuck. You know what? I recently saw a video of him, and I can't remember what he was saying, but I really was hating him as well in it. Daniel Jew says, why do a lot of men have a problem with hypergamy? It's the principle that we compete among ourselves with. It seems logical to me, actually. I agree, Daniel Jew. I mean, it seems logical to me as well. Yeah, it's a great point, Daniel Jew. I like your thoughts there. Voluntary spasm says, hey, my best friend that I hang out with regularly are women. However, when I have tried putting myself, uh-oh, I missed it. Oh, great. Let me change to all live chat to the top chat. My bad. So I kind of always, because it just automatically goes on top chat. I don't know why. Then I miss people's stuff, so that's rude, right? Of me. Uh-oh. But now I'm all confused, like where it was in the chat, because everything got switched around. My bad. Okay. I'm confused. All right, well, I have no idea where I was in the chat, so I apologize for that. Everything's switched around. I don't understand this. Maybe we'll go back to Top Shot. So Michelle says she is 30 plus and not negative in my dating profile. Very good, Michelle. Wonderful. Bob Bill says 30 plus is when the power shifts to guys. That's the craziest myth I've ever heard, Bob Bill. And any girl who is in her 30s can tell you, guys do not have the power with women in their 30s. Then he says, no, but a girl less than 25 has far less damage than a 30 plus. Oh my God. All right. Michelle says she's an attorney, never been married, and no kids. Anybody good in the chat want to date Michelle? Or Michelle, are you dating someone? Let me know. I don't know. Probably, right? Well, you say you have a dating profile, so how's your dating life going, Michelle? No baggage. Thank you for giving a counterpoint to Bob Bill, because he needs one. Kevin says, Michelle, the red flag might be the attorney thing, not the 30. Oh my God, Kevin, you can't be serious. What is wrong with the live chat? But Michelle thought it's funny. Michelle, you have a better sense of humor than me. Okay. Oh, Kevin's argument is attorneys tend to hate losing arguments. Is it true, Michelle? So Talal says, what are the advantages and disadvantages of dating one person at a time versus having rotation other than it's time consuming? Talal, there are no disadvantages to having a rotation, especially as a guy, okay? When you find someone, it gets serious with one person and they give you the talk, like, are you dating anyone else? Well, I want to date you seriously. Then you can decide, yep, she's the one. But there's never any disadvantages to having options, in my opinion. If you can get a rotation, you're in a good spot. So please get your rotation if you can. Okay, so I'm a little confused with this live chat. Okay. Superman says, Vic, I tried watching Pride and Prejudice. I don't understand what the female protagonist was thinking throughout the movie. I guess she was happy that the brooding Darcy wanted her. Okay, so was there any scene in particular you didn't understand, Superman? But basically, I mean, Darcy's rich, he's hot, but he's rude and a little rough around the edges, okay? But he kind of like sees her as an equal and an intellectual sparring partner, okay? Unlike most men in the day who are quite sexist. Well, Bingley was pretty good. But anyway, so he kind of saw her as an equal. And he helped her out a lot in a very like protector provider way. Okay, so it's basically a love story between a guy who's kind of like mysterious, tall, blunt, direct, and that's kind of attractive to women in a way because it's like he's not a people pleaser. Okay, he's not like a I shouldn't say pansy. He's not like a follower. Okay, he's a leader because he has those skills of being direct and blunt. All right, he gets succeeding in the business world. He gets things done. So he also has a mansion. Okay, and he's not really interested in a lot of girls, but he sees something special in Elizabeth. He sees her personality, and that's basically what he falls in love with. Okay, so it's kind of like a fantasy of being seen, not for your beauty, although he thinks she's beautiful. Okay, but that's not the main thing. It's more like her personality, her intelligence, her wit, her confidence, her sass, her aggressiveness, her masculinity, even. Okay, and that's something you guys, I don't know if like heads are just popping off in the chat. Like, women, but masculine women are bad. Well, guess what? In romance novels, women want to be loved for their masculinity. Because in Darcy's head, it's like, this woman isn't masculine. Yeah, she's masculine. I love that. But it's like, I'm so much more masculine than her. I'm so rich. I'm so successful that compared to me, she's still a feminine flower. Okay. So it's an intense relationship of passion based on chemistry and personality, not looks. And that's something that cuts to the heart of many women who are valued for their looks in society. They want something more, they want something deeper, they want someone who sees their soul, their essence, and not just their fake femininity. Okay? So, do you get it now, Superman? Yeah, Kevin says, like, okay. I'm gonna go back to top chat because this is not, I don't think I'm getting this very well. All right. Matthew says, this has been an interesting Q&A session. Thank you for hosting. You're welcome, Matthew. So, Bill Usher says, what makes a girl feel intellectually attracted as opposed to emotionally attracted? Well, I mean, if the guy's intelligent and intellectual and he values her for her ideas, for her intelligence, for her intellect, like my boyfriend always tells me, like, oh, you're so brilliant. Like, you always have brilliant things to say. I mean, it's like, he values her for her intellect. It's very, very nice of him, isn't it? So anyway, I mean, but then that's a good question, Bill. As opposed to emotionally attracted. Well, I mean, if you're intellectually attracted, it's going to turn into emotional attraction. But I guess you can have emotional attraction without intellectual attractiveness. Like he kind of hits on those qualities of like masculinity that you like crave as a woman, but you kind of feel, this isn't really his specialty. You know. So So Evan Wells one says, I was super into that bartender I was telling you about. And last time I saw her, I heard her complain about getting screwed over by this guy, and it totally turned me off. She acts like a 17-year-old at 35. Sorry, that's random. So why was it such a turn on for you hearing her talk about how a guy screwed her over? Let me know. So Bill Usher says, "Is it true women become attractive if they seek a man's approval?" Okay, Bill. So, if done the right way, I could see how it could increase attraction. Like in, I don't know if was it you, Bill, who sent me those Todd Valentine things. So I could see that he was using trying to get them to seek his approval as a way for them to become more invested in the conversation and to perceive him as much higher value than he actually was. So, is it could it be used to make women attractive? Yes. Okay. However, if you just neg some woman without much other skill, is she going to become more attracted to you? Not necessarily. Okay. She could just be very turned off, very annoyed. However, if combined with, conversation and skills, I agree that it could edge things in your favor. What do you think, Bill Usher? Superman Man says, "Okay, I get it now about Pride and Prejudice. I try to do this, but I'm average height." That is fine, Superman Man. I'm not saying heightism isn't a thing, but of a guy of average height, what's that, like 5'9"? Um, it's absolutely possible. So I kind of like messed up with the chat. So if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Thought there's something I could play for you, which is I believe it might have been Michelle. Okay, I'm not sure, but she suggested this book, Haunting Adeline. There's two Michelles. I can't remember which Michelle it was, but I was listening to it, and there's a really hilarious monologue from the male protagonist, and you can tell a lot about the female gaze from it. That's for sure. So I thought maybe I could play that for you. So Evan Wells once says, "Not a turn on, a turn off, because at 35 she tells some off and on hookup to come over because she just needs a friend, and then she's venting about how he had sex with her. Like, what were you expecting? And maybe it's an unhealthy situation, but she brought it on." So, okay, so she wanted just a friend to talk to, and then she didn't want to have sex with him, but he just like forced her? I mean, yeah, I mean, she's obviously I mean, it depends on the situation, okay? I don't know if this guy forced her or whatever. I mean, who knows what this guy did, but if she decided to have sex with him, that's one thing, and she didn't, that's another thing, so. Um, so Kevin Tambling says, "I used to get so many girls while playing in a band over the years. Why is that? It's because the other girls want that musician too." I think it's like, you know, a musician is kind of like a fantasy for women. You know what I mean? When you're on stage, it can be very attractive. I mean, you're displaying your skill, your talent. You're kind of like channeling that almost like bad boy, like rocker energy. It's kind of like, I'm not a corporate drone. I'm an artist. Um, I'm a leader, not a follower in a way. So it's attractive to women. And yes, women know other women are watching you and that if you hook up with someone in the crowd, you're kind of going to be like having your pick, because if many women were like cheering and clapping for you, it's almost like one of the principles of the female gaze, which is like the Cinderella principle, as I call it, which is like, hopefully my plagiarist isn't listening in, but it's kind of like the guy has many options from which he selects his Cinderella to fuck. So, yeah. Gabby N64 says he has nice chances. Yeah, it depends what he is. Voluntary spasm says, my female friend always says that I'm short, even though I'm 5'7". It has never been an issue with physical partners, though. That's rude. It's very rude, but maybe she's flirting with you because she finds it attractive, but she's kind of like conflicted because she's heightist as fuck. BK's value menu says, how often on average do you think a couple in their 20s has sex? My girlfriend's diet is much lower than mine, and we engage about once a month. I am sorry to hear that, BK's value menu, but unfortunately, if you listen to like sexual psychologists and sex therapists answer this question, I mean, they will always tell you there is no like standard. Okay. Now, I think the last time I heard this question answered, I believe they said anywhere from once a week to once a month is normal in their 20s. I could be wrong, but that's what I believe I heard. I last heard on the Sex and Psychology podcast. But then, of course, they give this big caveat about how, it's totally dependent on the couple and how often they feel comfortable having it. And there's no normal and blah, 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 blah. Okay. But yeah, this sucks for you because she wants to have it once a month and she has much lower sex drives. So you have mismatched sex drives, most common problem in sex therapy. I don't envy you. BK's value menu. Once a month, I'd be going insane. So no, I don't like it. But, I mean, many women do have sex drive where they want it once a month. So, hopefully, if you break up, you could find someone with a higher sex drive. But that's, I guess, up to you to make the distinction whether it's worth it or not. Because some guy might be a better match for her with a lower sex drive. But what do you think, BK's value menu? Oh, God. Bill Usher says, do women actually prefer being introduced to a guy rather than being approached by him directly? I don't think that makes a difference, Bill Usher. I would actually probably say they prefer being introduced by him directly because then they can see his skills rather than him kind of like not demonstrating that. But I don't feel like they would probably care much either way. Anonymous says, are you familiar with the term sexual currency and think you do a video on it with any personal advice? So, no, I'm not familiar with the term. What is it? Anonymous. Sexual currency. What is it? Goodbye, exhausted and empty. Anonymous says, what is your favorite thing about Beardo? If I had to choose just one, I would say probably his intelligence. There's other stuff too, of course, but so Anonymous says, first thing from Google, sexual currency is what I call all the contact you have with a partner that does not include the acts of sex themselves. So is that like all the acts of kind of like affection and tenderness and like solicitation in the old-fashioned sense of the word in a relationship that kind of like builds to making them want to have sex with you? Is that it, Anonymous, or did I not get it? So then, so Laptop says, a lot of women were asked about what body type they like. They always prefer dad bods over muscly bods. Why do they not prefer muscular guys more? So, a lot of women, they're much more relationship focused than men who are thinking, wouldn't it be nice to have sex for once? And so they're kind of thinking like who would be good for like a sexual encounter. But they're swimming in sexual encounters. So they're thinking about who would be good for kind of like a long-term relationship. Now, a guy with a dad bod, he seems more like a dad. He seems more like someone who would be good in a long-term relationship. He'd be dependable, he'd be caring, he'd be kind of like perhaps a little more sensitive than your average like model with the six-pack. I mean, once a lot of women get some experience with men, they start realizing, okay, if a guy's like insanely good looking, he's no fun to date, okay, for a number of reasons. So they know that if they're in a relationship with a guy like that, he's not going to be kind, he's not going to be caring, he doesn't want to be in a relationship. Other girls want him, he's vain, he's going to be working out in the gym all the time. Well, vain, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but so yeah, they are kind of taking in the whole picture and they're like, you know what would be kind of comforting, relaxing, warm, and fuzzy? Just a guy who has other qualities going for him than every single girl wants him. Do you know what I mean? Freedom Fox 1 says, what women define as a dad bod is still pretty muscular. That's a great point, Freedom Fox 1. And then, of course, they underestimate how high their standards are. So, that's true. I noticed that. Okay? They kind of want like a muscled dad bod. That would be the ideal. I agree. So, it's what I like to call the invisible Chad, where even a dad bod is a Chad. And Michelle agrees, and she says, we care more about being a loving, good man versus muscles. Well, yeah. That's what we want to believe, right? But yeah, that's in our, when we're just sitting there in our room and someone asks us, as our self-reported what we prefer, right? In reality, if we're at the club, I don't know, maybe it's a different story. So, Daniel Rolfi Tanukimar. Bro, please, like, pay someone for your fetish. Please, like, I'm not gonna just address, like, your little kink. Like, maybe you could find, like, some online chat room or something. You're hilarious, bro. Like, please, like, if you're, like, masturbating right now, please take it somewhere else. Like, what are these sites, like, that girls, like, talk about your kinks for you? You probably know them better than I do, Daniel, so alright. Heaven Wells 1 says, "I guess the point is I'm surprised by how turned off I could be by someone so attractive and feminine. All that hotness and femininity just turned into a platter of ugly self-denial and immaturity. It was a good lesson, though. It makes me appreciate the much smarter women contacts I have." Well, Evan Wells 1, I am glad so late in your life you're learning this lesson that just because somebody looks good and acts feminine, that doesn't make them a good person. Like, come on, Evan Wells 1. I like you, Evan Wells 1, but this one is a little bit of a no-brainer. But I mean, are you really surprised by this? But okay. Um, Meathead Rob, thank you so much for your super chat. He says, "I feel like many women say that, not realizing how much they actually like muscle. I've gained much muscle recently, and I've had women react very strongly and into it in intimate situations. What do you think?" Meathead Rob, I actually agree with you. I agree with you. Okay. Women have a blind spot, in my opinion, when it comes to the black pill. Okay. I agree with what somebody else was saying, where it's like they kind of like when they're thinking of a dad bod. First of all, it's like a very attractive dad bod. Okay, it might have a little fat, but it's not like totally out of shape. They underestimate that. They're just thinking, "Oh yeah, I love dad bods." When it comes to reality, do they actually, or do they actually like a guy who kind of has like a very who has muscle with just a little tiny bit of fat, like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I agree with you, and I agree that muscle, it can kind of be like a visceral, primal thing for women. Do you know what I mean? Like they think, "Oh, I don't need that," but then if a guy actually has it, it kind of like can surprise them how much they like it. So yeah, you got to be careful of the black pill blind spot in women because we don't want to acknowledge it because we do feel we're the less shallow gender, right? But we're shallow in our own ways. So it's just harder to admit that. So yes, that's why I always tell you guys to look smacks. I think it's great. You just went ahead and did it. Meathead Rob, despite, people saying, "Oh, dad bods are the best." You guys would still all be better off look maxing, in my opinion. Like Meathead Rob, you'll have a lot better options, okay? The girls who like dad bods will be like, "Oh, it's funny. I normally like dad bods, but I find myself strangely attracted to you." Okay, and you don't have to like get so cut. You have like 3% body fat, but the muscle is not going to be a bad thing. It's really not. So I agree with you, Meathead Rob. I think you're bringing up an important point. It's complicated, but it's important. Or maybe it's not complicated. Maybe I just said that. But yeah, I think that it can be like a physical turn on. And I think a lot of times, like as women, we're kind of thinking, physical attraction, like, do we need that? Well, some women, obviously, some women are like obsessed with physical attractiveness. But then other women, they can kind of be like, what's more important is that he's just like a good person. But it's like we're still human. We can still respond unconsciously, surprisingly, to physical attractiveness, in my opinion. What's your opinion, Meathead Rob? And thank you so much for your super chat. All right, Michelle says she likes smart, nerdy men that tend to be more lean, less muscle. Okay, Michelle, like I definitely believe you, but now when you say more lean, less muscle, doesn't that kind of imply that they kind of still have like a good body because they're lean and they still have muscle, but they just have less muscle? I don't know. What do you think, Michelle? Okay, so Michelle, she's agreeing. All right. Interesting. Yeah. So Daniel Jew, interesting question. He says, would you agree that humans are polyamorous by nature and many problems in modern dating come from enforced monogamy not working anymore? Well, I've heard that, like, because we have multiple relationships usually over a lifetime, multiple monogamous relationships, but that kind of says, like, look, we're polyamorous. But I don't necessarily know about all that, whether we're polyamorous by nature or monogamous by nature. It's probably like some people prefer to be more monogamous by nature and some people prefer to be more polyamorous by nature, but we're all kind of like funneled into the same relationship escalator of monogamy. But, if we're up to people and they could kind of like deconstruct what's called the relationship escalator, all the societal norms that are like the merging of our lives financially, time, families, that, is ever like increasing until death. And it's like monogamy. If we could kind of just like pick and choose pieces from that, more people would. But I think some people would still be monogamous by choice. And some people would be polyamorous. What do you think, Daniel Jew? But do many problems in modern dating come from enforced monogamy not working anymore? Well, I agree that for some people, they don't want to be monogamous, but they kind of feel like pressured into it. So, do problems come from that for them? Yes. Some people really want to be monogamous, though, so do problems come from that for them? No, they got everything they want. And it's the typical societal package. Interesting book. I'm actually reading about it now. It's called Stepping Off the Relationship Escalator. It's really good ideas, but it's kind of like tediously written, but it's really interesting. I listened to some podcasts interviewing this woman. She's really smart, so it's probably better to listen to a podcast interview than read the book. But anyway, what do you think, Daniel? So me, Ed Rob, this is exactly what I thought. Last two women I dated don't usually date gym bros, but they repeatedly made it known how much they appreciated my body. Good for you, Meathead Rob, doing your looks maxing. Wonderful. James Roher says, Victoria, have you ever considered selling a course on dating advice? Yeah, I have considered it, James. Yeah. Do you think it would be good? Fishing for compliments. So James, oh, okay. Well, I don't want to do it right now, James, so apologies. Michelle, let me ask you this Bill Usher's question. What is the best compliment you can give a woman? I mean, I think it depends on the woman and what she, herself values the most about herself. And if you kind of like validate and affirm that, you got a winning compliment. But Michelle says she just wants to be seen by you. Yeah, 100%. Seen by you in the way that she wants to be seen, in the way she sees herself. Would you agree, Michelle? Deep down, but even more perceptively. That's really the winning ticket there. Anonymous says, what do you value most about yourself? Well, for example, I really like when my boyfriend, he'll compliment, like, this quality about myself that most people, don't really pick up, so I do feel very seen when he sees it, and also most people kinda see it as a bad thing, so when he sees it and validates it, but sees it in a positive light, it's very powerful. So that's kind of like, I don't know if you wanna call it intellectual curiosity, but it's kind of, like, been a problem for me throughout my life because I like to just question things to an insane degree. A lot of people don't like it, and they find it very annoying. They find it too much. And so when my boyfriend is just like, "Oh, I really like that about you. That's kinda like what makes you, like, special." I'm like, my brain's going off like a light bulb, you know what I mean? Because it's like, not only does he see something very, like, influential in my life that I've it's kinda one of those blessing and a curse things, but he sees it as a blessing when I've seen it as a curse. Very powerful. And then here's a tip from Dr. Burns, okay? This is his idea for the best compliment of all. So let's say there's somebody and like they don't have the best looks, right? You kind of want to compliment them on their looks because they never get complimented on their looks. They're probably getting complimented on, oh, you're so brainy, you know, you're such like a you're so successful or whatever. They never get complimented on their looks. So if you compliment on their looks, they're like, wow, they're eating out of the palm of your hand. Similarly, if you see someone who's not very bright or whatever, but has good looks, let's say, and you compliment them on their intelligence, and no one's ever like complimented on their intelligence before, again, they're like, what? I'm in love. So that's kind of like a dirty technique for compliments. What do you guys think? Laptop says, why do women not have as much sexual urges as men? First of all, as a population curve, women have, as a population, a slightly lower sex drive on average than men. Okay. But that doesn't say anything about any individual in that curve. So there are many women who have just as much, if not a lot fucking more, sexual urges than men. Okay. It just depends on each person's individual sex drive. You may be meeting women, one, who don't have a high sex drive, or you may just be perceiving that because women aren't going around like men are thinking with their dicks, if you will, that they don't have sexual urges. That's mostly because of safety. Okay. It is unsafe for women to hook up with men they don't know behind closed doors, getting naked with a guy who could kill them and sometimes does. Okay. Sometimes doesn't, but it's not safe. So that's why women are just, also, there's been a long history of sexual repression of female sexuality. So that affects things as well. Okay. Think about the church. Okay. They spend so much time trying to tell women that, like, their sexuality is sin. And the worst thing I could ever do is have my daughter end up on the pole. And you guys in the red pill movement spend so much time trying to convince women that having a high body count is bad. Okay, so a lot of these ideas are confusing women. All right, so that can affect their sexual freedom, their sexual empowerment. Okay, but yeah, I mean, until I met Beardo, now we have basically equal sex drives. I think mine's actually a little bit more. Well, I don't know. I think we're about equal. I always had a higher sex drive than guys that I was with. And many women have that experience. But of course, the many guys think this. Kevin C says, I heard that everyone is a 10 to someone. Honestly, Kevin, they probably are, right? Like, if you could just find someone who's like the most compatible to you on planet Earth, like, wouldn't you consider them a 10? I don't know, maybe not. What do you think, Kevin? It's an interesting question. I have to think about that one, but I'd guess yes. What do you guys think? Hello, Kevin from Oslo. Samuel77 says, how should you go about dating specifically for finding casual friends with benefits relationship? Well, you can go on this app Field. Have you been on that one, Samuel77? You can specify your sexual preferences on there openly. I heard of a new one recently that someone suggested. Damn it, I wish I could remember it, but Field is very good. Is Field good for dudes? I've heard it is, and it's this. That's how you spell it. Thank you, James. It's very nice of you. All right, guys. Well, I guess I'll be going. Any last minute questions? And then I'll head out. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Keeping me company as always. Entertaining me. Making me think. Making me learn. Making me consider new ideas. Anyway, Michelle, wonderful having you on. Thanks for sharing your opinions. Always love getting a secondary female perspective. And now that I know a little more about you, Michelle, it is even better. Have a great night or morning or afternoon, Idara, as yourself, to yourself as well. What? What did I say? Tyler says, wanted to say thank you for doing this stream. I recently found your channel and I know the info will pay off. Oh, thank you so much, Tyler. Is there anything you're working on in particular right now, Tyler? I'm curious. Oh God, this Daniel guy, he's demanding people cosplay for him. You're wild, Daniel. All right, I'm gonna have to block you again though, because you're kind of insulting me by calling me a broad. All right, I'm putting you in a. Oh no! Wait, I'll unblock you. I didn't mean to block you completely. I meant to put you in a timeout. Okay. Anonymous says, Daniel is Beardo's alt confirm. Very funny, Anonymous. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys. Well. All right, good night, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Full of good health, sexual options, good social skills, good conflict resolution skills, very sexy fantasies. Bye, guys. Good night. The Crow Templar. Talia says, well, oh wow, Daniel seems to be quite famous for stuff like this. How in the world? How does this guy get around to be known all throughout YouTube? Alright guys, I really gotta go, so goodbye everybody. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.